How many times do you guys see people wearing a band shirt and somebody will comment on the band shirt? We do that with
Hmm.
sports. I'm a huge sports fan. When I see somebody with my team out there, I make a comment. When I see somebody with my nemesis team, I make a comment. You create a relationship and people see it, you know?
Hmm. Oh, who's your team? The Eagles?
Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what I figured. The Eagles. And who's your
Philadelphia Eagles.
nemesis?
The Cowboys.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Vana Room. I feel like I need to
Vana
sing a theme
Room.
song every
I
time I
know.
come on and
Vana
announce.
Room.
I need to come up with some kind of little jingle. But this week's episode is a good one. I'm excited to talk about this because it's quite creative. We're going to be talking about merch and how to kind of build your brand using merch. And I know I think we've briefly discussed this in previous episodes, but we haven't really dove deep into merch and how to do it and what it is. And because a lot of people see merch and they think, oh my God, I don't have $1,000 for t-shirts and things like that. But there's other cost-effective ways to do this, and maybe giving you some ideas on what to do. So I want to kick it over to Mo because she is much more knowledgeable about this than I am. So I'm going to kind of sit back and ask some questions, and then hopefully she can answer them.
Awesome. So, welcome everybody to the Vana Room. So yeah, we're talking about merch today. And like Lennon said, you're going to see some other episodes where we sort of touch on this a little bit. But before I start talking specifically about your merch, what I want to tell you is that what this is really about is your audience. And you need to understand who your target audience is. Who is buying your music? Who is coming to your show? What do you know about them? Where do they shop? So this is where what we call the psychographics come into play. This is where the demographic come into play. Are they women? Are they predominantly women? Are they predominantly male? Is it 50-50? And the merch that you offer needs to reflect that. It needs to reflect their lifestyle, because the other thing you need to think about is, not only do I want this to be something that my audience is going to buy, but I also want this to be something that they're going to buy it and wear it. And the purpose is to extend your marketing reach, right? So some of you are probably already paying for ads on social media, maybe pay for ads in a magazine somewhere. So that's a good start to your marketing. But the other thing is to get that organic reach. And the way to do that is to get your own audience, the people that are already your fans, get them to buy into you and get them to help market your brand, your logo, whatever it is that is specific to you. So if you have a logo, I would use that. If you are releasing a limited edition EP or album, use that. Use the artwork, the album cover artwork. I mean, think about it. The Rolling Stones, they always use their lips with the tongue as part of their marketing. Nirvana, everybody knows, album cover, for Nirvana's Nevermind. Pink Floyd, like I could go on and on the number of bands and artists that we listen to, and they utilize their album cover artwork as part of their merch. So don't dismiss this. And really quick, I'm going to drop this in there, and this will be an episode for another time. But later on, we're going to talk about trademarks. And trademarking
Mm.
your band's name and your band's logo is huge. So make sure you get that done as well. And like I said, we are going to have a intellectual property attorney on who specializes in trademarks, and we're going to have her talk about that a little bit for you guys. But for your merch, make sure you own your trademark and it's available. And then with your album cover artwork, believe it or not, you actually own a copyright in that album cover artwork. So these are things that you own rights to that you can utilize on your merch, right? Um, so again, know your audience. What do women like to wear? So I'm wearing a Harley tank top. I don't know if you guys can see. Harley is one of the masters at merchandise. I mean, they sell so much in their Harley stores. Yeah, they sell their bikes, but you see people wearing Harley boots, Harley t-shirts, Harley tank tops, Harley hats, Harley bracelets, Harley belt buckles. That is their audience. That's what people, Harley bandanas, right?
Mhm.
That's their audience. And not only is it merchandise for them, it's also necessities for their audience. If I'm a woman riding a motorcycle, I want to tie my hair back. I'm riding a Harley, I'll use a Harley hair tie, or you know what I'm saying? So it's really important to know your demographic and understand the psychographics of your audience as well. And I believe we talked about this too before, so I'm not going to repeat stuff, but just remember psychographics is the lifestyle of your audience. Where do they eat? Do they buy their coffee from Starbucks, or are they getting it from Dunkin' Donuts or Wawa or Circle K, whatever is whatever's in your area, right? Um,
Mhm.
you know, are they wearing leather or are they wearing cotton? What what's their shtick, so to speak? You know what I mean? So that's where you want to start if we're going to talk about merch. Is this is about your audience and this is about marketing your brand. You got to know what your audience is willing to buy, because market this merchandise is going to cost you money
Mhm.
to to print up and put out there. Were you going to ask me
Mhm.
something, Lennon?
Yes, yes. Before
Okay.
I forget, where are you finding this information? How are you gathering what my audience likes?
Again, I think we talked about this before. I think I did this with Rob in another episode, where we talk about, using the analytics that you get from the different platforms. So when
Right.
you're putting stuff out on social media and you're seeing who's interacting with your music, pay attention to that information. Rob also gave the names of a couple other marketing type um, data database type websites that are collecting that information. So, like Spotify for artists and all that, it's telling you who your demographic is. And you
Mm,
should be paying attention at your shows. If you're performing right now, who's coming to your shows? How old are they? What's the age range? What's their ethnicity? Are you seeing mostly Caucasian, mostly Hispanic? Like who? And think about who you're creating your content for too. What's happening on
mhm,
your social media. You should have your account set up so it's a business account or a creator account, and on there you get your analytics. Facebook, you get your analytics. Look at your analytics, and if this is not your area of expertise, then there should be somebody on your team, which Lennon and I have talked about. There should be
mhm.
somebody on your team to help you decipher this information so you can make sure you're creating relevant merchandise.
Mhm. We've also had an episode with marketing expert Len Bolello, and I'll link that up in the corner here. You'll see a thing pop up. I would recommend checking that one out because he talks about collecting this data, what they do, and how to use it. And he gave a really unique example for his podcast and how he had merch and he sent it out, and he had a really cool system. So I'll link that one as well in the show notes below because that was a really good episode with Len. So yeah, I mean, that's great information how to collect that data and then learning how to leverage it.
hmm so let's talk about pricing. Um, m- Merch is going to be all over the place. It depends on availability of what it is that you're looking for. Um, Unfortunately, what the economy is doing, what the supply chain is looking like, depending on what it is that you're looking for. So the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is this is something that needs to be on your budget. This is something you
Mhm,
need to budget for. And so when you put this on your budget, you do not just put merchandise and then you put a price there. You need to break your merch down. What kind of merch are you buying? Are you buying in bulk or are you doing on demand? Price it out. Actually take the time to go, okay, if I buy 100 shirts, right? I'm going to buy 100 shirts and this is how much. And by the way, something, if you've never bought merch before, um, when you start getting up in sizes, if you notice there's a lot of extra plus size fans, and you're finding that people are looking for a lot of like XXL, XXXL, those actually cost more. So
mm,
you got to price it out by what you need. And so maybe you only need to buy 10 XXXL shirts. But for small, medium, and larges, you're probably going to need 25 or 100 of, it just depends. But you're going to realize very quickly that this costs a lot of money. So think about the design. Whoever you contact to design your shirts or print up your shirts, get pricing on how much colors are going to cost. You might need to do your merch in black and white, but if your colors are significant to your brand, then be prepared to spend a little extra money, because the more colors and the more intricate the design, the more money it's going to cost for you to get that printed up. If you want to, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, for the art and whoever's designing your shirts, if
Mm,
it's a logo of some sort, do you need to own it? Do you need to own the copyright
yes.
for that?
Yes. So if you hire a graphic designer to create your logo for you, you hire them, you pay them, you need to make sure you have something in writing from that graphic designer that says that they are now transferring the rights of that design over to you. So just because you hired them and you paid them, don't assume it's yours. It works a little different with visual artwork. So you got to make sure that you get it transferred over to you. I want to say Davey also mentioned this in the copyright episode. So you guys might want to go back to that. But if she didn't, um, make sure that you get the rights transferred to you. So as soon as you pay for it or you make your last payment, make sure that that graphic designer has put in an email or at the bottom of your invoice that the rights have now been transferred over to you at that point. So yes, Lennon, great question. Absolutely.
And this is something I believe Davey told me this. I think it was maybe in my podcast episode 2 years ago, 3 years ago with her, where a copyright assignment cannot be done like handshake. It must
No,
be done in writing.
correct.
So
Which is
if I want
exactly
to
what, yep,
assign if I want to assign my graphic design that I designed for Monique, we have to do it in writing. We can't
correct.
just discuss over this and say, "Hey, okay, you own it, you're good to go." It has to be done in writing.
Right. That is a federal statute. So that's
Yes.
not even by the state. That is a federal statute. That assignment of copyright must be in writing. So, yes. So that's why I say have them put it in the invoice when you make your final payment and they send you an invoice. Make sure it says it on the invoice or it says it in an email when they transfer the file over to you. But you got to have that in writing. And another
Mhm,
reason that's really important is because printing companies, they want to protect
mhm,
themselves from any type of copyright infringement, lawsuits or anything. So they will also, when you send them artwork, you'll notice in their documentation they have you check a box or acknowledge that you are the actual owner of the artwork that they are printing, and like, should any type of legal issue come up, you're responsible because you are saying in writing that you own this. And some companies may actually ask you for proof. So be ready for that. Just saying.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
so but yes, you need to make sure you own the design, and I would keep that documentation in a folder somewhere that's easily accessible with your assets. So that way if you're ever called out on the carpet, like, hey, do you actually own this? Like, yeah, here, I got the paperwork from the guy who designed it for me. And
mhm,
that the rights were transferred. But
mhm.
that's for
Absolutely.
your sake and the company that's printing your merch up. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Mhm,
So where was I? Oh, um, so you want to think about what you need to do. Everybody thinks, okay, I'll get t-shirts done. Some people don't like t-shirts. I know me as a woman and many other women. Now I live in Florida, so tank tops are a big thing for us. It's hot down here. I don't want to wear a cotton t-shirt unless
It gets
you're
hot in Florida? That's news to me.
Oh my goodness. So, it's like devil's halitosis down here, okay?
Yeah.
It's hot. Hot.
Hot, hot.
So we like tank tops, and not just regular tank tops. We like low cut. We like razorback. I mean, some women may want something a little bit higher, but we like tank tops. It's hot. That's our thing. So you got to think about, where your primary demographic is stemming from. You can't go wrong with sweatshirts, but sweatshirts are expensive.
Mhm,
Y'all need to understand that. So now you will get a first class seat into why, when you go to buy stuff for some of your favorite bands, why it costs so much. It's because it's expensive. right? And that's
Mhm.
why, and that's also a reason why these things are on back order so often, because they'll only order so many, not really anticipating a lot of people wanting to purchase that particular item. And now it's on back order, which is a great problem to have from their perspective, because they're like, okay, this audience is really into our sweatshirts. Now,
Mhm.
live shows. So you guys got an option. You can work with a company that does on-demand printing, and there's a few out there. You got like Printify, even Amazon does some on-demand merch printing. Threadless is another one. So you send them the designs, you set up your sizes, and then you let people just go online and order it, and then they'll print it up and then ship it out, which is great for online ordering. But you're going to need to order some stuff in bulk. One of the things I tell people is, don't you dare go perform and do a show and not have something that audience can walk away with. You are missing a major opportunity to grow your audience, because there may have been people there that have never heard of you. You put on a fantastic show and they're like, this group is, or this guy or gal is pretty dope. Like, let me go check out their merch table. And then they get out to the lobby and you don't have a merch table. It's just you standing there talking to people. That's nice and everything. But what did you give them to take with them that has your logo on it? Is it a bracelet? Is it a watch band? Is it a necklace? I don't know. Whatever fits your audience. But don't you dare let people walk away from a show without something branded with your logo, your name, your image, something that they can walk away with, and spread the word, because that's the whole point. You know,
Mhm.
how many times do you guys see people wearing a band shirt and somebody will comment on the band shirt? We do that with
Mhm.
sports. I'm a huge sports fan. When I see somebody with my team out there, I make a comment. When I see somebody with my nemesis team, I make a comment. You know, you create a relationship and people see it, you know?
Mhm. Oh, who's your team? The Eagles?
Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what I figured, the Eagles. And who's your
Philadelphia Eagles.
nemesis?
The Cowboys.
The
Anybody,
Cow
yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole, Cowboys, Giants, Redskins, or sorry, they're not the Redskins anymore.
the
Finally,
Washington Commanders.
Commanders. Yes, I was about to say Senators or something like that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah, the whole Eastern NFC division. So,
I,
but mostly the
I was
Cowboys.
my dad's a Minnesota Vikings fan, and I always ask him, who your favorite team is. My dad, his response is, "Anybody who's playing the Cowboys is who is my favorite."
I like it. Absolutely. So yeah, so I mean, just like that, it creates a conversation, especially if you have a cool design. People are like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's pretty dope. Who is that?" And
Yeah.
then you say the name of the band and now people go look it up, which will drive
Yeah.
people to your website. Like, it's a domino effect of what having fans wear your stuff it can do for you from but back to my original point, which is put it on your budget. Spend some time researching different companies. What is cost effective for you guys? If you're in a band, then look at your band members and go, all right, guys, here's the cheapest company with the fastest delivery time. We can use them for now. We'll have to upgrade later. This is how much it costs. And then you get everybody to chip in, right?
Mhm.
Because the other thing you have to think about when it comes to merch is you're selling the merch. Hopefully, you got somebody who knows accounting. The whole point is to make money off your merchandise to help you pay for other things. Or if you're really doing well, and you're in a band, everybody's getting a piece of the pie when that merch comes in, when the money for the merch comes in. If it's you as an independent artist by yourself, then you get to take that money home. That's wonderful. But that's money that goes back into your pot because you're a business. Remember, we talked about this a while back. You are a
Mhm.
business. And so at that point, this is money that came in. How are you going to spend it for, whatever else you may need
Mhm.
for your career? Maybe you need it for more merch. Maybe you need it for costumes for stage. Maybe you need it to pay a new engineer. Who knows? The
Yeah.
point is you want to
Invest in
turn a
your
profit, right?
absolutely.
So, I hate to get too much on the business side of things, but anybody who's ever worked in retail will tell you what we pay as the consumer is not what that store paid for that merchandise.
Mhm.
Like
I
they
wanna
probably paid $10 for it and they're selling it to us for $35 and
Yeah.
we're buying it.
Yeah,
Just saying.
it's like when you go to get a soft drink at a restaurant, they pay pennies to dispense that, and they charge you $3 for it, so they're making massive profit on soft drinks, which is why a lot of restaurants do free refills because it's so cheap for them to do it, and that's the $3 or $4 you pay for it covers it. But I wanna go back on, the print on demand and, that whole side of things because it's very different than what it was, 10, 15 years ago. A lot of people think that you have to put in an order of 200 t-shirts or sweatshirts or whatever it is, and they have 5 to 10, 15 boxes sitting around their house or their apartment. And that's not the case anymore. There are companies where you can go on and upload your designs or even design through their own platform that they have. Design a t shirt, for example. That's the easiest to do. So you have a t shirt and you design it and you publish it to a store. And what happens is you mark up what you want to charge. So let's say you want
Right.
to charge $25 for that. It costs you, say, $5 for them to manufacture that. So they're going to take $25 off of that. And whenever somebody orders it, they'll do shipping, they'll do customer support, everything. All you do is you just upload the design. They pay when somebody orders the t-shirt, they take the $5 it costs to manufacture it and then maybe some taxes and other additional fees. And then they just send it to the customer, the person that ordered it. So you don't even have to be involved in any of this. And then you can go to them and do a bulk order, or you can just go right on the website and order 100 shirts or however many you need directly through the site. It's
Yeah.
easy. There's lots of ways around
But
it.
you do want to pay attention and make sure that your fan base is not having too much of an issue ordering from that company, because if you're getting a lot of complaints, then you need to switch
Yes.
companies, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, they don't give a cahoot about what company you chose. It's you. That's going to affect your brand. They're going to be like, I'm
Yes.
not buying your merch anymore. Every time I try to buy it, they double charge my credit card, or it's always damaged when it gets to me. I've had to return stuff twice. Your fan base is not having a good buying experience, which means you're going to lose money, and you want them to go online um, and buy stuff, or you want them to come to the show and buy stuff. Which brings me to another point: keep your merchandise fresh.
Mm,
Anybody can buy a t-shirt. Don't
yes.
just be like, oh, we just need to print more t-shirts. No, get with the times. Like, you got those what do you call those little things on the back of the phone now that you hold with your fingers, little pop out things,
Pop socket.
pop sockets. Thank you. um, print those up. You know what I mean? Like, that's something a lot of people are using on their phone. Or phone cases. A lot of people have custom phone cases. Keep up with what is the latest thing, but for your audience. But don't let your merch get stale, because once I own a t-shirt, what's the point in me coming back to your website, or what's the point in me stopping by your merch table after the show if you guys don't have anything new? Every once in
Mhm.
a while, run a promotion. Be like, hey, our new EP is about to come out and we're only doing 50 shirts. So the first 50 people to get their hands on this new shirt, that's it. And they're all going to be signed by us. Like, so y'all sit there and sign 50 shirts and then you ship them out. Boom, done. See what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, there's got to be something that's going to keep people coming back. And that's why you see a lot of your A-listers teaming up. So this is another thing that you could do too. So this is why you see A-listers partnering, strategic partnerships with existing brands and creating a line of something. And if this is not for your brand, if you're like, oh, this is selling out, she's talking about stuff that's for the A-listers, okay, but what you're missing out in what I'm saying is this is also a revenue stream for you. And if you create these types of relationships, you give yourself an opportunity to bring in more money from another source. Because think about what happened when the pandemic hit. People weren't touring. They had to figure out another way to make money. So what did they do? They started going online and charging people to watch them online, right?
Mhm.
But if you had the merch or a variation of merch, or relationships or whatever, it helps you. So you look at people like, Lizzo, who created her brand with the Yitty stuff, right? Now she's got that. You got Rihanna, who's got skincare, perfume. I'm not saying y'all are at that level yet, but my point is, it's like, okay, once you get past the merch part, what else can you do? Lizzo also is doing vinyl and she's doing cassettes. And that's probably a nostalgic, like her fan base is so big, half her audience probably don't even know what a cassette tape is, but they might buy it just for to have a novelty item from their favorite artist. So
Mhm.
maybe you guys press a 45 that has if you know what a 45 is,
I
uh,
do.
you know, press a 45 with the colors of and it's going to cost you some money. That's why you do limited runs and then you raise the price. It's not going to cost the same as a download because more went into this. Added value, people. That's what we're talking about here. Added value. Back in the day when I was young, bands or some of our favorite boy bands back in the day would do things like you go buy a magazine, there'd be a poster inside that magazine. That's why you buy it. Or you buy the CD. The inside of the CD would open up and there's a poster inside that CD. So that made me go buy it. Yes, I wanted their music, but it had this other thing because I'm a super fan. And that's what you got to think
Mhm.
about. In my class with my students, I talk about the whales, the dolphins, and the minnows. I feel like we may have had this conversation too. Your whales
Yes,
are
we have.
your fans, your people that are willing to spend whatever, right? And then you got the minnows on the bottom that are like, meh, I'll wait till they'll throw something out at the show. I'll just grab a free shirt that way. You
Mhm.
want to turn these people into whales so they spend money on your product, on your stuff, whatever it
Mhm.
may be. Heck,
Mhm.
maybe
Absolutely.
your lead singer wears um, a limited edition something, throws it out in the crowd, and says, "There's only 5 of those, and and that was one. The other 4 are for sale." Boop. It's the same thing people are
Mhm.
doing with NFTs right now too, if you think about it.
Mhm. Yep.
So
If people want to pay you, let them. If
absolutely,
they wanna give you money, if they wanna buy something from you, let them. If people are
absolutely.
asking for, like, "Do you have any higher ticket items?" Like, "I'll spend $500 or $250. What do you got?" If people are starting to ask, then you better damn well come up with something because if people are asking about it, that's the best insight. Then somebody once you sell that stuff out, somebody's gonna come and be like, "Hey, do you have anything for like $1,000, like VIP experiences or something?" I'm willing to pay for that because they love your music so much, and as you continue to build that brand loyalty with your fans, they're gonna continue to ask for more, and you have to let them pay you. Like, if they wanna pay you, let them pay you. I don't know why you turn down money. That doesn't make any sense to me.
And
Um,
also don't forget to make it about them too. I think that's
yes.
something some artists miss is they make some of their merch so much about themselves that their audience is just not buying into it.
Mhm.
So let's say you're doing a 10 city tour. Figure out a way to make your merch unique for the 10 cities on that tour. Now your super fans are like, there's only going to be 10 of these shirts. I want all 10 of these shirts. So I'm going to follow, just like people used to follow the Grateful Dead around, right? You might have those people willing to follow you from city to city just to get that shirt because that shirt's only available in your city when we get there. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people have to remember is you create the experience for your fan base. Get them excited about you. Get them excited about spending money on your stuff. Make
Yeah.
your stuff make sense, you know?
Mhm.
Maybe you got a hat and a bag or a tote bag and a shirt and whatever and they are just all glammed out in your stuff. you know?
Yep. Mhm. I like the idea too, which you discussed, earlier and then just now reminded me of offering different things in different locations. Yes. So, like, for example, in New York, you might offer maybe a light jacket and a sweatshirt, but when you're in Florida, you don't offer those things because they're not as necessary. You offer tank tops, maybe some bandanas, maybe stuff that's geared more towards the summer weather because it's hotter in Florida than it is in New York. Like, New York has winter and they have cold, so sweaters and jackets, stuff that people wear, gloves, long underwear, hell. Just different things like that can help. And going back to your example with Lizzo, Lizzo is also very like body positivity, empowerment, specifically for women. So she has a lot of like plus size women stuff. That's just her brand. She's very supportive of that. So that's her market is plus size women that are looking for plus sizes for clothing. That is her thing and that body empowerment. So coming up with things like that and looking to Lizzo as an example, and there are tons of other examples as well. But I think Lizzo's a really good one to point to. Lil Nas X is another good one. I don't know what merch he offers, if he offers any merch, but he's a really good person to point to for marketing. So he just does things so perfectly. But those are some really good examples of like merch stuff.
Even
That's
Metallica, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, in addition to merch, I mean, some bands are just creating additional brands as revenue streams. So, like, they have their own brand of whiskey or something. I can't remember what it was called, but they were performing at a festival, so they're getting paid to play at the festival. Then they get their performance royalty check, and they're selling merch at the festival, and they were selling their whiskey there, four streams of revenue from one show, and they were playing for 3 days. Like, you figured that out, you know what I mean? So, like, if your audience is big time drinkers, then maybe you can convince a brand, like, like if you're like a a rock and roll band that plays in a bunch of, like, hole in the wall kind of bars, but you are packing those bars, and your audience is big time PBR drinkers. Then reach out to PBR and see if they're willing to do like a partnership for your tour. Either help you guys pay for your tour, or do a limited edition can for your tour. Maybe they can print your logo on it or something. Your fans are going to buy the hell out of that, because
Hmm.
PBR is cheap, number one, and then obviously in that process you're negotiating a percentage of that with PBR, but that's a great partnership, and it helps you
Hmm.
get some exposure. And then you work out a deal where you do something. Maybe you do the music on a commercial, or maybe you let them film you guys at a show with their with their beer. Sorry, just those kind of things. You have to, as independent artists, you got to utilize all your resources. And part of that is looking at the local businesses. And I would recommend um, mom and pop businesses, somebody you can speak to on the spot. Maybe you do an in store, maybe you do a pop up that'll help you sell some merchandise, something that is helping you connect with the audience and push your brand.
Hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about, you know?
Plus, partnering with a company like PBR, you get to tap into their audience because they're going to
Sure.
market you and tapping in. If you're marketing with them, they may be reaching fans and their customers that are fans of you. They're exactly the demographic that you're looking for to have come out to your shows, and having somebody see you through the brand PBR in an email, for example, an email blast. They go to your show, they see you perform, they buy your merch, they stream your music on Spotify and Apple Music, and they become a fan just because now you partnered with PBR. And it's all full circle. It all comes full circle.
But definitely budget for this. You gotta budget for it and make sure that you
Yeah.
guys are, a lot of times independent artists get so excited that money's coming in because they're performing or their streams are increasing. That's great. But before you guys just start dishing out money to your band or, whoever else, I mean, there's people in your camp that may have to get paid. I get that. If you're doing this 100% yourself, that's awesome. So go ahead and set aside some money for yourself, but you got to put money back into your marketing, and your merch is a part of your marketing. And
Hmm.
I think with each time that you are getting rid of merch, what you got to do is look at what is actually selling. If the t-shirts are not selling, you got to figure out why. Are they poor quality? Are they not comfortable? Like, are they just scratchy, and are they shrinking? Are they falling apart? Why aren't people buying these shirts? And if you attempt to fix the problem and the shirts still aren't moving, that means your audience does not want it. They don't
Hmm.
want it.
Hmm.
So instead of wasting that money on a t-shirt, put it into something else. Is there something that you wear that people want to mimic and wear just like you? I mean, look at Kiss's audience. My God, their fan base dresses up like them. at shows. I mean, these people are spending crazy amounts of money on makeup to look like Star Child. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So if you're dressing up on stage and there's something specific that you wear, get that thing made in bulk and let them become part of the character that you are on stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think all of this is really good information. Hell, it's given me some new thought and ideas to play around with. And also for the podcast, we are planning on trying to come up with some merch for the podcast. So,
Yeah.
uh, excited to see how that goes.
I already got
Um,
ideas.
oh, I'm sure you do. I've got some ideas too, but definitely need to be fleshed out. But yeah, I think we've been talking for 35 minutes now. So I think that's plenty of information, and that's really good basic information to get people started. And as
And
we
we're
progress
always
through more
open for
episodes,
questions.
absolutely, we're always open for more questions. So leave a comment on YouTube, and send us an email, comment on Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you can reach us. Send us a DM on Instagram. We'll check it out. We're always happy to answer any questions. But yeah, and as we continue to dive into more episodes, we'll get more advanced with a lot of these topics. So Mo, before I wrap things up, do you have anything that you want to add?
I'm good. Just best of luck to everybody, and hopefully our podcast is helping. And remember to budget, budget, budget.
Mhm. I also wanna add, if you on the topic of this episode, merch, if you have a unique merch idea or something that worked for you or didn't work, let us know. We wanna hear it. We wanna hear those stories. We're curious to hear what works and why it worked, and what doesn't work and why it didn't work. That's helpful for us and other music industry professionals as well, to test those things out. So before I let you go, head on over to our website and sign up to jamvana.com, enter your name and email in the pop-up form, and we'll send you our free checklist on music distribution and what it is and how to do it and things that you need to do before you do that, before you release your music. Also subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and review. It really helps the show. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff. We are always looking to grow. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next week on the Vana Room.